That can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
For all of your IT needs, visit OmniPerforms.com. Omni Strategic Technologies, the only IT company that the watchdog trusts.
The celebration begins Friday, August 13th at Wheeling's Heritage Port with live music. Celebrate 20 years of the Heritage Music Blues Fest. This year's Blues Fest features blues superstars Ronnie Earl and the Broadcasters, 2021 Traditional Blues Grammy winner Bobby Rush, the Rockin' Blues of Indigenous and Anna Popovich, and up-and-coming blues superstars Davey Knowles and Hannah Wickland, and many more. Heritage Music Blues Fest, Friday, August 13th through Sunday, August 15th. Tickets and info at heritagemusicfest.com.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your start to the work week. Plenty of sunshine for this Monday, a daytime high near 93. Few clouds through the overnight with temperatures down to about 72. You'll see clouds and sunshine mixing for your Tuesday. Chance of a scattered shower late, a daytime high of 88 degrees. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Celebrating the 100 days of summer, this is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
72 degrees, clear skies at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. It's 71 and sunny here at my home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling. 70 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios, downtown Wheeling in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Look for a warm, muggy, pit dripper kind of day during the day today. Maybe some rain. Most of that will come in, Zach says, late tonight, but be aware that the possibility of rain is there. And we're going to see just a hot and muggy week all week. In what we debate, Biff and I and Zach debated is actually the dog days of summer or not. Coming up, West Virginia economic development usually is seen as bringing in new businesses, bringing in new industries. Actually, more recently, we've been talking about bringing in people to be remote workers from West Virginia to other parts of the country. Question, should we consider trying to attract retirees? Phil Kapler talks about this in his State House Speak column this weekend, and it's something that I've talked about a lot here on the show over many years. When Harry Ham wrote his Wheeling 2000 plan, upon which much of the more recent development in the last 20 years or so in Wheeling has been based, there's one area that didn't get a lot of attention. He talked about making Wheeling a retirement community, and I think there's value in that. We'll talk more about that coming up a little bit later on. COVID cases still rising in Ohio County and throughout the Mountain State. More counties going red on the map. Lots of COVID news to share with you this morning. Governor Justice says he wants to stay the course, not make any changes to mask mandates or school openings or anything of that nature. I'll get into that a bit later on. And if you missed the last segment, we were talking about Governor Justice recently appointing a coal lobbyist to the state PSC, and now has appointed another coal lobbyist to a newly reauthorized energy oversight panel, one that's been dormant for the past 10 years, but the governor decided to reactivate it and put a coal lobbyist on it. Is the financially troubled coal operator / governor trying to stack the deck, or is this just more of the 3 degrees of separation we always have in West Virginia? We were talking about that, and I want to get into that a bit more later on. Right now, though, at 8:12 in the morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. I want to talk about that big trial that occurred down in the Huntington area recently. A judge's ruling in that opioid case is still pending, but as we watch it from the outside looking in, I found it really fascinating. The attorneys brought a suit against 3 huge drug distribution companies, claiming they simply sent way too many pills into small towns and hollers and throughout the mountain state. Are they going to win? Are they not going to win? Well, I don't know about that, but I have thoughts on that. But we're going to talk with a couple of the attorneys who were involved in that. Bob Fitzsimmons from Wheeling is here, and Mark Colantonio as well. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the show.
Hey, Howard, how you doing?
Good morning.
Good. This is probably not a question I should ever ask an attorney while it's pending, but the judge's ruling is pending. Do you feel confident?
I'm confident always, Howard. But as to the judge, we can't speak as to what a judge does, Howard. We just can't go there.
Do you have don't tell me what it is, but do you have a sense of what was likely to happen?
Let me tell you, Howard, I've been doing this for 40-some years. Mark's been doing it for 30-some years, and you get a sense, and that sense isn't always right or wrong or anything like that. So, but you can keep probing, but you aren't going to get an answer. It just you can't comment upon a case that's been fully tried, and the judge has it in his decision, and he'll have a yes, no, or in between, or something else. So we'll find out. It'll probably be a while also, because it was just tried to a judge. If it's a jury, you have feelings and stuff like that, and you always want to feel good. And but this wasn't a jury trial, so it's a little bit different.
Well, actually, Bob, you led me down an area I wanted to ask you about because I don't fully understand it. Now, I've tried to watch as much as I could of the trial and follow the testimony and so on, and I have some sense of the facts that were presented and the arguments that were made to counter those. To me, some of the most damning testimony was sort of, I don't want to call it emotional testimony, but it wasn't really factual. It was the attitude of the companies that came out in some of these emails that we had a chance to have read on the stand. But my question from a legal point of view is, help me with this, yes, it showed, I thought, a clear state of mind of the drug companies, but does that really make a difference in whether or not this case goes your way or not? How much of that is the judge going to consider?
I'll let Mark go ahead and kind of address it. He kind of worked on that part of the case.
So you raised a good point. So from West Virginia's standpoint, you hear these things, and really it kind of really upsets you when you hear companies making these kind of comments. I think it is relevant. I believe that it shows that these companies, were obviously aware of what's going on, and to me, it makes a major point that to show that these companies really didn't care. Now, whether that legally, from a standpoint of a judge looking at the case, looking at making legal findings, makes a difference, it's hard to tell. But listening to it, hearing it, it certainly brought a point home to me.
Yeah, and Howard, Bob, let me add just into that. When you look at corporations and corporate America and stuff like that, a thing called corporate culture is very important because you develop this environment that kind of inspires people or encourages people to do things and maybe become very callous the way this was. This showed a callousness that these companies had, that they just didn't care about the people in West Virginia. And it also showed notice and knowledge. They knew what was going on, and that was an important part of the case, is the knowledge. If it's something that just kind of happens and they aren't sure as to why the pills are becoming so voluminous from a month-to-month standpoint, that's one thing. When you're writing these kind of things from the hierarchy of the company and saying things about West Virginia and pillbillies and people dying and making fun of young kids using opioids, to me and to Mark, and I know, and to anybody who really hears it, you just want to go out and you just want to kick somebody. You want to take care of them.
You want to get in a fight. So
You don't want to get in a fight.
Yeah.
You want to clean them.
So
Take them down.
the other thing that's important to note on that, the emails, was this came from the regulatory people at the company, not just somebody else that maybe is outside that arena. This came from the people, this email about pillbillies came from the people that are supposed to be the watchdogs for the oversight of exactly the volume that came in this state. That's really the troubling part about it. More troubling part about it.
As someone reading the articles about it and watching what was developing, when those emails came out, it was a shock to me. It was a surprise to me. It was a stunner to me. I suppose you already anticipated, you knew they were coming, but at some point in your preparation, you had to have looked through these emails and said, oh my God, right? I mean, this had to be pretty shocking the first time you came across these things.
It was. There's no question about it. It was very shocking, and there's even more. If you read the email, there's more detail in it that actually, to me, makes it a little more shocking. I think there was a comment about something to the effect that it sort of made my day or something like that in the email. So, but you raise a good point because this is a trial to the judge, and so the question is, will a judge look at that the same way a jury will? Because a judge is obviously, a very educated, very smart person and looks more at the legal aspects. And so that's a question. That's going to be a question as to what difference it would make in front of a judge versus a jury, the impact of that kind of comment.
And Howard, this wasn't the only parody that was in the case. There were
There were
three or
others.
four of those that were there that were just as bad, maybe even worse.
It seems to me there were two powerful prongs to your case. One were the facts of the case in terms of the numbers that were involved in these pills, which we had first maybe begun to hear in the state in some of the reporting done by Eric Ayers, and then were really quantified in more detail in this trial. Again, I don't know whether it's a legal point that the judge would consider, but certainly one of the shocking comments that we heard was when, I forget who the witness was asked to calculate what the amount of pills per person or so. Anyways, he looked at his calculator and said the number is too big for the calculator to even look at. I mean, the numbers were just staggering, right?
Yes, I think 80 million pills over about 10 years is staggering for sure.
So the facts, the numbers were, I thought, absolutely amazing, staggering. But the other part of your case was the impact of all of this on the communities at issue here. And we heard a lot of what these pills had wrought. It's not just a case of numbers, it's a case of human beings. It's a case of the impact on a community, right?
Absolutely. So what happens with this kind of a problem, and this is why it's been called transgenerational, is that you have these pills which are highly addictive, and so people get addicted, and then at some point along the timeline, they no longer are able to get those pills, so the body craves that reaction, that dopamine effect, and so they then have to go to another source. So what happens is that, as you see, we call it Pill Mountain, around 2012 to 14, the prescriptions start to level off and actually go down because of some efforts that are made to try to cut that back. The people then go seek other drugs. So that's where you get a transition to heroin, to fentanyl, to methamphetamines and different drugs. And then that kind of takes effect. And then you have problems like HIV and hepatitis and other problems that emanate from that problem, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on. So this problem is a huge problem. It will take many, many years to solve. Some say it takes a generation to solve. There are no good answers, and it was man-made. I mean, it was something that I always tell the story that my father used to work in Weirton Steel, and he came home one day, this is probably, 50 years ago, and his leg had been trapped by a coil, and so his leg was swelled up. And at that time, they gave aspirin and bed rest, and, he was back at work in about 3 weeks, and everybody got along fine. And so that's the way we lived until this opioid problem came along. And then all of a sudden, these people decided they want to make a bigger market for these drugs, and they pushed them, and the distributors supplied them, and now we have this generational problem. It's enormous, and it'll take enormous amount of funds to help fix it.
One of the arguments that I think has some validity, or I shouldn't say argument, but one of the points that was made is that these pills do have value. They have value when properly prescribed and properly used.
Right.
I mean, it's not that they're evil pills that when you take them, you're gone. I mean, there's value to them.
So here's the problem with that. So these drugs, and OxyContin in particular, which was put out by Purdue, were normally used for people that had cancer. They were for people that you didn't worry so much about, the effects of the drugs because they had a more serious disease that was going to end up, so there was a balancing there, and so they used them for cancer pain. And then somebody in the industry had the brilliant idea from a marketing standpoint, let's try to convince the medical community to use it for non-cancer pain. And so you go through this analysis. The first thing a doctor is supposed to learn is thou shalt do no harm, right? So the remedy should never be greater than the disease. Well, in this particular case, you've got workers that have back injuries and not significant pain. In fact, it was being used for pain lasting more than a few days. That could be a lot of things. That could be a toothache, actually. And so yes, they are drugs that are very effective in treating pain, but the downside is they're highly addictive. So when you weigh the outcome of giving a lot of people a lot of these pills, a volume of pills, and the outcome is addiction, the addiction ends up being a lot worse problem than the original condition. So yes, they are effective in treating pain, but they have significant side effects. And once you get addicted, there are comorbidities, there's overdose deaths. So the benefits are highly outweighed for most medical problems by the adverse consequences. And that's really the big issue. They're great for cancer pain because you don't have to worry about addiction in those situations.
Mark, you mentioned earlier the solution is complex, and I'd like from both of you guys, suit aside, not necessarily involving what you're asking for from this suit, but do you see, what is the solution? You're both pretty smart guys. What do you see as the solution to the problem in the state and elsewhere for that matter, because it's not just here? Right.
So we had various people talk about, so there's this word abatement that you hear about. And so there's a plan that is multifaceted. And so if you break down what they call abatement, it ends up being this kind of thing. First of all, you have to re-educate the medical community on the proper uses of opioids. That's one. And that takes time and that takes efforts because they were educated the wrong way. Now you got to re-educate them the right way. Then you talk about the people that have addiction. You start by using things like what they call MAT, which is medically assisted treatment. And that would include like Suboxone and different types of drugs to help people get off of the opioids and other problems, drugs they have. So you try to get people to have that kind of treatment. But in addition to those kind of things, one of the major problems with addiction is, and anybody who's dealt with alcoholism or any kind of addiction knows this, that you first have to get the people to want to be helped. That's a major problem because people who are addicted and people who have these problems, it's hard to get them to want help because they're trapped in that problem. So what it also includes is things like they have coaches. So for example, what they learned is that most of these people have touched the healthcare system at some point in the last few years. So they either have a problem, medical problem, they have a problem with addiction or something. So what they do is they'll put coaches in the medical system that when they identify people that come to hospitals or healthcare centers, they say, hey, we can help you, and here's how you can get help. So identifying the people who need help is a big issue, and they have money to do that. So you identify the people that need help. You try to get them help, and it includes counseling, it includes treatment and those kind of things. And then you try to stay with them. So you also put these people in the system, and then you follow up with them, the coaches follow up, and they try to keep people in the system to try to get them off of the drugs, because it's a lifetime problem. Once just like alcoholism, you're always addicted. You just have to stay with it your whole life. And so there's things designed to treat them, identify them, and also there's even money in there for transportation to try to get people to go get help. So those are big issues. And then the children also. There's money in there to identify children who are affected by this with families and to try to get them help in terms of dealing with family problems. So it's multifaceted, this word abatement, and it includes all those kind of things. Then there's also the kind of things that everybody knows about, like, police, additional money for police and those kind of things, and even fire to help, with those kind of problems.
The case was, of course, centered in Cabell County and Huntington, so that's where the focus of the facts were and the impact was. But this is a problem that all of us in the state see, I suppose, even here in the Upper Ohio Valley, right?
Yes, absolutely. Every county, and we have state court cases as well, and the court in the state court cases has, said this thing travels. It's not static. It's not limited to one county. The entire state has an opioid epidemic, no question about it. So every county, every city, you'd be hard pressed to go around the county and find families that haven't either known somebody or have somebody in their family that hasn't been affected by this. It is a huge, and West Virginia, because of its socioeconomic place in the world, was probably hard hit by this more than most places in the country. No question about that.
Well, and our industries were such that there were more painful injuries that people were prescribing these things for.
It's interesting. No? It's interesting you say that because that's something that the defendants raise in the case. But let me just tell you this: if you look at the data, okay, so if there's different factors that go into those kind of things. In other words, what makes a population more susceptible to prescribing drugs? So one of the things they look at is, okay, what's your population look like in terms of work injuries? If you look at West Virginia work injuries from 1999 to 2016, you'll find that the work injuries actually did not increase. In fact, they went down a little bit because of, we had some hard times here. And actually, our employment has transitioned from coal and steel and other things to more service related. It actually has happened, even though we don't think about it. So our work injuries have actually gone down. If you look at arthritis, which is another pain thing they look at, it's a straight line from 1999 to 2016. If you look at diabetes and diabetes-related pain, it's a straight line from 1999. So all the things that you would think, everybody characterizes us having this. Now, we do statistically have a higher incidence of those things in West Virginia, but from 1999 to 2016, all of those things were either a straight line, did not increase, or they actually went down. So that there was no medical need justification for this 80 million pills.
Howard, that's actually funny that you raised that as a member of the media, because that was one of the defendant's allegations. They got shut down. They asked specifically, or they alleged that specifically as to Cabell County. They said, we got all these coal miners, and these guys are doing hard labor jobs down there. We got all these lumberjacks that are cutting trees. And when we pulled the statistics and cross-examined their experts, do you know how many tons of coal, Howard, were mined in those 10 years in Cabell County, or how many trees were logged in Cabell County during those 10 years?
I have no idea.
How about zero?
Okay.
So these are things that people get this misconception. Now, our state does have hard workers. We're a labor-intensive industry type state, and we have that. But that doesn't necessarily drive everything. It doesn't change everything. But so you gotta look at the statistics as to what's true statistics, as to what people are just putting out. And that was one of the defendant's defenses that I think they got shut down pretty quickly on.
Well, now you've shut me down, so thank you very much.
No, I did that to show that you hear these things and people,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things. People go and then they hear something and all of a sudden it becomes a fact. And it really isn't. And you need to explore, and especially with Google and the internet and stuff like that, you get on there and you try to prove things, and to have that, and we get all these misconceptions out there. You know, the bottom line here is that they dumped millions and millions of pills into the state. There was a obligation by a statute in the United States, the Controlled Substance Act, that required these distributors, because they have the ability to count the pills, to watch the frequency, to watch the volumes, and to watch the trends. And so they made them self-police their corporations because they had this privilege to distribute a drug that people knew had dangerous side effects. And they didn't do it. And they just didn't do it. And the pills just kept coming in, and they were astronomical numbers. And, you know, the red flags should have been going off all over the place. And they didn't stop it. And as a result of it, we have communities, we have friends and family that have now become addicted or have died, have hepatitis B, hepatitis C, HIV, endocarditis, and other diseases. And it is an epidemic, and it's going to take many, many, many years to get rid of it. Some of the experts, Mark, you correct me if I'm wrong, some of the experts said the only way to correct this is to pass through this generation to the next generation.
It is transgenerational, truly. I mean, these things, these abatement ideas we have, they're proven to work, but and the idea is that they will solve the problem within 20 or 30 years, but, you know, it's something that it's going to take a long time for sure.
Bob, flesh that legal argument out a little bit more for me, because
Sure.
one of the defense's claims, I think, is essentially was, it's not my job.
Yeah.
We fill orders. We get an order, we fill it. We're not responsible for determining why there are so many pills being there. We're just doing our job, which is to fill orders. It's other folks down the line, it's the doctors, the pharmacists, and so on. They're the ones who really are supposed to be more conscious about that. So if you would, flesh out that legal argument that actually it is their job.
Right, well, first of all, when you're in a court, you know, there's two sides, sometimes 3 or 4 or 5 sides. Here, most of the distributors, I think, took common defenses, and one of their defenses was they pointed the finger at everybody else in the world. They alleged that everybody else was responsible for it but them. I think one company actually admitted that they had some responsibility. There's actually a law that was passed in 1970 that said we have these controlled substances, we're going to control them because they have these dangerous side effects and they can cause all kind of problems. And so each company that distributes, including the manufacturers also, the people that produce it, the Purdue's and the Johnson & Johnson's that produce these pills, they have an obligation to control the drugs. And what they have is to have a monitoring system. And the basic way to do the monitoring system, it's like if you're monitoring water coming through a dam as to how high the water is on one side and how high you want to let it go on the other side. It's 10 feet high on one side and you want to keep it to 7 feet on the other side, so you dam it up and you actually decrease the height of the river by 3 feet. These pills are counted. You know, so when they're selling a prescription, so your doctor gives you a prescription, you go to the pharmacy and you say, hey, fill this pharmacy. That distributor, those box distributors like CVS and Walmart and things like that, they're getting the pills from distributors. And those pills that are ordered, they have a certain number and they are obligated to find out how many pills go into Cabell County, how many go into Huntington, how many go into Ohio County, how many go into Wheeling, Brooke, Marshall County. They have to count those things, and they look from month to month. And so one month you have 1,000 pills, hydrocodone, that was distributed in Ohio County. The next month you come in and it's 17,000. Well, something's happened, Howard, to require them to order another additional 16,000 pills. And it's those types of changes in volume or in frequency or in the trends, and they're obligated to effectively monitor that. And they have different ways to look at that. They call them suspicious orders. And when something comes up and it goes from 1,000 pills to 17,000 or from 10,000 to 150,000, that's a suspicious order, and they're supposed to stop the delivery of the pills at that point and conduct what's called due diligence. And all due diligence is use your common sense and go to the pharmacies and find out, why is there a $16,000 or $100,000 pill difference? And if there's a legitimate reason, you go ahead and ship the pills. If there's not a legitimate reason, you file that with the DEA and let them go ahead and check it out, and you stop the pills. And their argument, the defendant's argument is, well, we have these people that are cancer or terminal conditions, and they still need their pills, and you're shutting that down and stopping that. That's true. There's no question. There is some decrease of it. With pretty much anything that we do in life, there's always some upsides and there's always some downsides, and you have to measure the pluses and the minuses. Here, you have this addiction state that we have now that we're going through in our state. And by the way, this is not just West Virginia. This is the entire country. We may be one of the worst hit, but this is the entire country. So these big distributors, they're going to make all this money distributing it. They have a duty and obligation to monitor it, and they didn't do it. And it's a very simple analysis of the case, but that's what it is, I think. And I think Mark hopefully will agree. But
Gentlemen, I need to let you go in a minute, and Biff is going to start yelling at me for being behind time. So, but I want to ask you, what about are there responsibilities of oversight agencies that should have been involved here as well? I mean, government agencies of some kind that should have seen this, or do they sit back and just wait for someone like the drug companies to tell them?
So as Bob indicated, there's a specific requirement of suspicious orders, and that's really the key to the distributor. And by the way, the case that was tried was just against the distributors at this point. There are other cases against manufacturers, and so that's a different case. But for this particular case, there's a specific statutory regulatory requirement that these distributors monitor for suspicious orders, and when they are suspicious, they have to stop shipment. That's the key. And they have to then do due diligence, which includes a lot of things. It would take a long time to go through it. Bottom line is, they're the choke point. They control. They're like the control valve of all the pills that go into the counties and cities. All right. Now, the DEA has a separate role to play. But as far as the distributors are concerned, and there's no question the DEA has a separate role to play, but the DEA relies upon these distributors to send into them these suspicious orders, all right? And so, but the way the system is set up, the distributors have a separate, independent obligation as the people that ship the pills, and that's the way the act is set up. Somebody in the government figured that they're in the best position to do this because they can see. They are the eyes of what is going to a specific pharmacy, for example, into a specific county. They can see all that in real time, and so the government put this obligation on them to be like the first responder, so to speak. Hey, if this thing is, going up, don't ship. And then, the DEA has a separate obligation eventually to do what they do, but the bottom line is that the distributors they're like the first responders. They are the people that have the eyes to see what goes into the counties, and they can see what's going to every pharmacy, and they can see when it goes up and when it becomes suspicious. And they let 80 million pills go to this county over 10 years. And so, on its face, that looks really, really bad.
Gentlemen, I need to let you go, but is there anything else I have not thought to ask, or any other critical point you think that the audience needs to understand about this case?
It's complex, and we could talk about it for 6 hours and be glad to do it. But all I would say is this is a really important issue for West Virginia. No question about it.
And there's many more of these cases that will be tried over the years. Howard, not only West Virginia, but other places. And this is just the first of many of these cases. It's kind of a testing ground. It's the first one that was tried in the country, actually. So Mark and I and Clayton had the honor to go down and help these guys try the case. It's really a complex case. It's a good thing. It's a good thing that people are doing, and if change occurs, that's a wonderful thing here.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time this morning. I appreciate it. You sure you don't want to tell me what you think the judge is going to do?
I'm pretty sure.
Just take one more shot at it, I just like.
There was a headline in a newspaper, I think, that captured it. I forget what newspaper it said. Judge to decide if 80 million pills is reasonable or something like that. That kind of captured, I think, the issue. That's what the newspaper said.
Thank you both for coming. I appreciate it very much. Hope I didn't keep you too long. I appreciate the insight you bring to this and the work that you're doing. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right,
Thank
take
you
care.
so much. All right, see you. Bye-bye.
All right, Biffy, you can whip me. I'm way behind time. Let's grab some news here at 8:43.
The WTRF Channel 7 News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Now it's time for your local news headlines from 7 News.
Metro News Sports, good morning. I'm Kyle Wiggs, legendary college football head. Pro contract in the last few days with the Knicks. Reds beat the Pirates by a final of 3-2 on Sunday. Also, it was Tampa Bay 9, Baltimore 6. From the Metro News Sports Desk, I'm Kyle Wiggs.
Hi, it's Hoppy Kercheval inviting you to join me weekdays, 10 till noon for a statewide talk line. We talk about the big stories affecting us in West Virginia. We talk with top political figures, sports personalities, and sometimes just us folks talking, all offering our opinions on what's happening today. 10 till noon, right after the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
The best in local talk is on your FM dial, 98.1 and 97.7. We are the Watchdog.
A serious injury from an accident can be just the start of your worries. What if you cannot return to work? How do you take care of your family if you're disabled? At Gelner Law Offices, we represent seriously injured people and understand their problem. We know how to get you fair compensation. We will work hard to make sure you get the money you deserve for your losses. Don't go it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Does your dog need groomed or walked? Are you looking for a pet sitter or dog boarding options? If so, call Dirty Paws, Wheeling's newest pet care service, providing the Ohio Valley with everyone's pet care needs. Check us out on Facebook at Dirty Paws WHG or call 304-639-7754.
New Belgium Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available in West Virginia and distributed locally by wine and beverage merchants. With its toasty and biscuit-like malt flavors blended perfectly with hoppy freshness, it's bound to become one of your new favorite craft beers. Fat Tire Amber Ale is now available at local retailers. Please don't drink and drive and drink responsibly. From your friends at Wine and Beverage Merchants.
Every weeknight at 6 p.m., join the voice of the Mountaineers, Tony Caridi, on The Watchdog. Tony informs and entertains WVU fans with the latest Mountaineer sports news. If it happens in the world of gold and blue, Tony knows about it and shares it with you. Sportsline, weeknights at 6 on The Watchdog.
Miss a part of the show? Want to hear a segment again? Check out our podcast page at watchdognetwork.com. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
'72 clear skies, Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. 71 sunny here at the home studios in the Elm Grove section of Wheeling. 70 at the Robinson Auto Group Studios, downtown Wheeling, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Going to be a warm day today, muggy day today, probably close to a pit dripper. Rain is sitting out there, but probably not until later in the day or even into the evening, so probably not too much to worry about during the day today. It's going to be a hot and muggy week all week long. Hey, Biff, I forgot to even mention at the top of the show, did you get down to the Chili Fest at all this weekend?
No, not Saturday. No.
I thought it was a nice crowd they had. Music was great. I think it was the Muddle playing. I'm really not sure who was playing, but the music that was playing while I was there was just really tremendously entertaining. Just the right level, right volume, and just kind of permeated the air. People were having a good time. I, of course, got to sample all the commercial chilies, a variety of them. Actually, it wasn't as big a variety of commercial chilies this year. They all were fairly standard chilies, just with different variations on the taste and the flavor, which made judging harder because they all, there was no white chili. There was no, nobody had traditional chili with chicken in it or something. It was just, they were all basically traditional chilies that varied a little bit in taste. I, of course, managed to go back and taste them several times because I had to do that just to make sure that I got the full flavor,
Yeah,
it was it was a pretty good time.
By the time we got done Saturday and left, it was 4:30, and I thought they'll probably be done or doing the judging and stuff at 5. So the timing just didn't work out Saturday, but maybe next year.
It was a good, nice crowd. Not a shoulder to shoulder guy. It's the kind of crowd I like. All right, people could walk without totally bumping into each other. It was just, in general, a very nice, afternoon. It was afternoon by the time I got there, and it was just good. You saw, and then I went down to Nancy and I went down to Center Market and picked up Coleman's fish sandwiches. Can't go wrong with Coleman's, right?
No, you can't go wrong with that.
What I was so impressed with and happy to see was how active the Center Market was with all different kinds of people. There were senior citizens. I mean, there were little old ladies. I always forget when I say senior citizens, by the way, that that's me. But I mean, there were little old ladies and guys, with canes and walkers walking around. It was just a lot of senior citizens. And then there were a lot of couples. You could tell there were couples just out, stopping at the antique shops and the little quirky places and so on. And then there were whole families there. I mean, I saw little tiny toddlers and kids there. It's just what a neat area the Center Market is. And it's just so exciting to see so many people there.
I've on occasion, after we get done with the sports huddle on Saturday, from time to time, just for something different, go down to the restaurants and everything down there where Coleman's is and get something to eat for lunch. And you drive down, and there have been Saturdays where I've been surprised at how, packed and all the parking spots are that are taken and everything, and you're playing the game where you got to do 3 or 4 laps and hope you get a park before you just say, you know what, forget it,
Right.
just park somewhere. And it's like, you're pleasantly surprised on a regular Saturday just to see that.
Yeah, you're right. It was no special event. It was. I mean, actually, I think they did have a special event Friday night. Friday night was, First Friday.
First
right?
Friday, yeah.
First Friday was Friday night, but Saturday was no special event. There was no live music. It was just people at the market, and it was just neat. And again, what really struck me was all kinds of people: senior citizens, really old folks, older than me. That's really old. Really old folks. Toddlers, families, young couples, it's just great. It just popping in, and I mean, it had that big city feel to it almost. They just pop into one store, and you can see them walking down the street into another one, and then you can sort of tell they're sometimes thinking about, where can we get something to eat? Do you have a favorite place to eat in Center Market, Biffy?
If you're going to make me pick, because I'm going to say all of them, but if I had to pick one, I would say Valley Cheese.
Valley Cheese is a great place. Yeah, great place.
I like that.
Yeah, you're right. It's hard. There's so many places.
I mean, I like that. I like Coleman's, obviously. Market Vines. I mean, it's each one has their own style and everything that I enjoy. But I mean,
you think about the variety of food that you've got there too. You're right. Coleman's, Market Vines, your basic, burger type restaurant. You got Later Gator, which I haven't been there for a while. I haven't been there since before the pandemic. I need to go back to Later Gator. I think Nancy went with some friends recently. Later Gator's a great place. Almost switched off from Coleman's to Pappas roast beef when we were down there. We pulled up out front, and I said, I thought Coleman's, but boy, a Pappas roast beef, a Big Mike would sound good. You get the brew keepers are there. What else am I forgetting? Of course, just plain old. I should say plain old. It's good. You get pizza from Vocelli's. What am I forgetting, Biff? I mean, just so many different types of food there. If you want to, wherever you want to go. So
I'm surprised you didn't get both. Stop and get the fish and the beef house.
Yeah, that's not unusual for me to. Not unusual for me to get extra, because you can always keep one for later, right?
Yeah,
keep some for later.
That could be snack, lunch, whatever you need it to be. It's there. You have it.
Actually, I think we may have. Nancy always buys. I think she ended up buying extra fish. So I think we have some for today. Never can hurt to have some Coleman's fish around. Oh no, wait. I think my son came down and took it yesterday.
Oh no.
Dad, what do you got to eat here? I almost, he's my son. I got to tell him, but I kind of want to hide it from him.
You wanted to say nothing, didn't you?
I got some Coleman's fish still here. Oh, Coleman's fish, good. I'll have it. Went to TJ's, picked up from TJ's yesterday for lunch. And what I had a great desire for was their seafood salad. I love their seafood salad, right?
Oh, that is good.
So I got it is one of the best things around. So I got the seafood salad. And then I got thinking, I could use a Swiss Miss. So I got the Swiss Miss. Then we called, was a pickup order, and Nancy was on the phone. I said, ask them what kind of soup they have. Clam chowder. Oh, I got to have clam chowder.
Oh, yeah.
And Nancy got a salad and also a sandwich. And when the food came, she ate her sandwich and said, I'm going to hold this salad for later. And I said, I've eaten my sandwich. Where's my salad? Bring it to me right now. I just couldn't put it off. I had to eat it then. So I didn't get to see Teddy much this weekend because he had parties with his friends. But I got to tell you, it was a good food weekend, a very good food weekend. And I know you're not big on this, Biffy, but Saturday night, we were debating what to do. Nancy said, well, should I cook something? We're going to go out somewhere. And I said, you know what I really want? Fried chicken. I want fried chicken. So we went to your favorite place.
Not on the island.
Kentucky Fried.
Not on the island.
Kentucky Fried.
Aw, why?
And picked up a bucket of chicken, brought it home. So that was my foodie weekend. All right, ABC covers the world. I want to talk about Wheeling as a retirement community and other matters, including COVID, coming up next.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Cheery, Preston.
I'm going to get some coffee, Biff. I'll be back.